Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just about 2 o'clock in the afternoon in glorious uptown Kyiv. Hey, dirty hamster. Hey, Peter. And we're on another walking tour. I got to go to the store. I have a few things to pick up before I leave just for Sophia. And so I thought we would take a walk together. How's everybody doing today? Here's what we'll do. I'm going to start out here. I'm going to flip the camera around. And I just want to show you guys. Hey, hard guy. Take a look at this place, huh? Does that look like the Jetsons? Hey, hard guy. This is the first time I'm using the headset. Can you hear me okay? How's the sound? Morning, Bernard. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm hoping the headset will reduce wind noise and stuff. Loud and clear, good. Right, so this place, I mean, I think in the West a lot of people have a sense that Kyiv is not a modern city. It is. As you can see very clearly, just look at these high-rise complexes here. Take a look around with me. And not only is the city itself modern. Now, look, that's not to say that there aren't places that could use a paint job and a little new brickwork. Certainly after the last 3.5 years. But not only is the city a very modern city with all the conveniences that everyone would expect in a major European capital, but additionally, the country itself is highly digitized, highly modernized. Every Ukrainian carries on their phone an application that contains their passports, IDs, birth certificates, car licenses, driver's licenses, right? Everything is in their pocket all the time. Hey, Carl. Hey, Marius. Sound is good then, guys? Good. Boy, I don't know what that is. That looks like 1920s, though, doesn't it? That looks like just post-revolutionary industrial. But I don't know. Another modern high-rise here. Now, on the subject of murals, right? Because, I love art and all that it does for us. This city is covered in murals. Everywhere you go, there's these wonderful, there's modern, laser inscribed ones, but there's an awful lot of this. Just a lot of fun, derivative, comic sort of things. You got some aliens there coming down to say hello. You got an old Lada, or maybe that's a Zap down there. Right, fun. How much fun is that? Now just imagine you're living in a perfectly modern high-rise with all the conveniences of a digital society, and then across the way you have a historical kind of Stalinist era apartment complexes, more modernity down there, and then every morning you wake up to these beautiful laughing aliens here. Fun times. Looks like it's a cafe in there. Boy, look at that. I don't know when that was built. That could be pre-revolution, I'm not sure. I'm having a hard time finding cornerstones. It doesn't seem as though that's a thing here, the way that it is in the West. Now we're just coming. Now notice too all the greenery. When I lived in Manhattan, one of the things that I missed the most were the trees. And here you can't walk down a residential street without, generally speaking, without being in the shade of all these wonderful trees and greenery. And the big thing, of course, are now that's an oak. That's an old tree. Are the chestnuts. There's a chestnut. And the chestnuts, of course, are the symbol of Kyiv. Hey, Tim. How are you healing up, buddy? Can you hear? A building in Virginia built in 1669. Well, that's probably one of the oldest buildings in America then. No. What I said was what I missed in Manhattan were the trees. That's what I said, Diamond Dave. I said what I missed in Manhattan were the trees. The cool greenery, right? I mean, it makes such a difference in terms just of getting around. It's a glorious late summer, early autumn day. It's heading toward 80. Now here, I'll show you this. This is a problem in this town. Steps. I mean, and the more you go back to the Soviet times, the less likely it is that those steps are going to be evenly sized. They're not the same size. And less than a 2 millimeter difference in a staircase will trip you up. That's a problem in this town. There's no doubt about that. And then steps where you just don't need them. That's another thing. Where if you're just taking 5 minutes to level it out, you wouldn't need a step there. All right. Let's see. Oh, look at, hey, we saw that building from a distance when we were over at, where were we? Oh, the Olympic Stadium. Hey, Kylie Ann. Leo, it's a pretty clean city. It really is. Now, here's a great example of a pre-revolutionary piece of architecture. This is iconic. This look, this build, this feel, those keystone caps over the windows, all of it. What you'll notice missing are any of the Greek revival concepts that came in a little bit earlier. That we don't see here. Okay. So on the subject of trash on the streets, I'll tell you, you guys know I smoke cigarettes. When I first came to this town, I flicked a cigarette butt on the ground. Holy shit! Somebody picked it up and yelled at me about it. Right? You look around, look at it, even if I go in the gutter, you don't see cigarette butts. Oh, there's a couple. But no, they really are big on that here. I do need a camera stabilizer. You're right, hard guy. You are not wrong. I did forget the goddamn selfie stick today. And that helps, I think. Tim, I know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah, Dave. I'll tell you, after the war, there's going to be... let's be honest, right? Let's just be frank about it. After the war, there will be a huge business in renovations here and repairs. And particularly, like if I were a guy in the construction industry and I was thinking of ways to make money, I would be thinking about ADA compliance in Ukraine. This is a big deal, right? So dig it. All these guys are going to the war. All these citizens are being injured in the war. Guys are coming back in wheelchairs, missing legs, and nothing here is handicapped accessible. Nothing. And so there's a movement on now to kind of get, like we have in the United States, the American with Disabilities Act, where everything has to be accessible. They're trying to do things like that here now. My friend Tatiana, who works over at the Left Bank Theater, says that they just went to great expense to install an elevator at the theater. The city itself, and I can probably show you an example of one. We'll come up here before too long on one. The city itself is in the process of making all the street corners handicapped accessible because the guys coming back need it. I can't tell you how many guys in wheelchairs I've helped over the curb at the corner near my building, because I live near the main military hospital, and the street corners there until recently were not handicapped accessible. So this is all happening. And it's great to see, I think, right? I think it's great to see the city make that a priority, even now in the crucible of this war, when there's no money for it, right? There's no money for that kind of infrastructure development, but they are finding it, and they are making it happen. Boy, that's a nice looking building, isn't it? I think it's new, though. It's just stylistically traditional. But I don't know. Well, it is Sunday, right? It's Sunday, and these look like office complexes. So there's no business going on here. When we get down on the main drag, I guarantee you there's going to be lots of people in the street. The city, despite the challenges of the war, is really quite active, really quite bustling, busy. There's a lot of things going on here. You know, we hear all the time, oh, after the war, it'll be great, after the war. I'll tell you something, if you're in business and you're thinking, oh, I'll wait until after the war, you're going to be left out, because Ukraine's moving forward now. And now is the time to think about what you're going to do and start your planning. Hey, Pingu, happy Sunday. Thanks for the follow, Leon Neon. That's a great handle, Leon Neon. Okay, now this building, this appears to be under construction. So this building is empty. But boy, that is, I mean, you could drop this building in Manhattan and it wouldn't be out of place. Not in the least. Hey, J-Boy. Hey, Maddie Wright. I thought I saw a moderator take some action against some troll. Good job. Thanks, babe. Oh, now here we go. We're coming up on, and forgive me if there are any Ukrainians here, please forgive me. Vasilka is this street down here. One of my first apartments was not far from here. And this kind of tunnel or under the building passage we're going to go through, I've seen it a million times. I always wondered where it went. Well, now I found out. Now there's, boy, that just says pre-revolutionary Eastern Europe, doesn't it? Look at it. Probably a little earlier than that other building we were looking at, because you can see some hints of those Greek influences. There's what appear to be cartouches above the window there. And then rather than just the keystone above most of the windows, which you see, you also have more expensive, what's the word? Escalloped or scalloped keystones. Boy, look at that place. You know, I look at the construction and I wonder, is that construction still going on? So many of these have been suspended during the war. Lots of trees, Maddie. Look at that big old tree. Right there outside the back of this apartment complex. Everything's in kilometers per hour. That's what that 10 is. There's some great architecture here. We're not even in the old part of the city. I mean, well, that's not true. That's not entirely true. But there are parts of the city that are really much older. Thanks, Maddie. I'm glad you could. Oh, now look at this. Holy cow. All right, now do you know what this is? Who can tell me what this is? What's the proper name for this kind of fencing? What do we call this? And what's our principal building material? Does anybody know? Look at this. It's a fence. You're not wrong, Lee, right? What you're looking at here is one of the oldest methods of fencing. You're right on target, Maddie. Well done. What you're looking at here is one of the oldest methods of fencing called a wattle. This is all wattle. And commonly, the material used is hazel. So you know hazel nuts, hazel trees. Hazel is a particularly pliant type of wood that you can weave between other pieces of it so that you get a sturdy enclosure. And this kind of wattling, or something very similar to it, its predecessor, we have seen in archaeological sites that are 4,000 years old. So people have been wattling, building these fences like this for a long time. Now here, I think they tend to get done, either this is very old, which it might be, or they tend to get done kind of artistically, you know, as kind of a nod to the past. Less so than utilitarian. Though I've been out to a place called Eco Village where they've preserved 18th century wattle walls, and they are actually still being used to contain livestock, right? That's what you'd build it for. You'd build it for livestock or to keep out predators and others. Can we make this light? Yeah, I think so. Right. Again, apologies to any Ukrainians here, but this is Vasilivka, if I'm not mistaken. And we've been down this road before, so we're going to go right down here to Antonych and take a look. Ah, it's a glorious day. Absolutely glorious. The thermometer's heading up to 80. Which is what, about 29 Celsius, I guess? Oh, that breeze feels nice. See, again, even here, right, in the heart of downtown Kyiv, the streets are tree-lined. There's areas reserved for trees out front, little gardens, flower gardens, etc. So as I understand it, before COVID hit, this town was in the midst of a building boom. And some of these projects got completed during COVID. But a lot of them, once the full-scale invasion happened, had to be put on hold. When you suffer a 43% loss of GDP, that's a problem, you know, it's a problem. Ooh, it's nice and cool under here. Cafe culture is alive and well in this town, that's for sure. There's cafes everywhere. Though the coffee is generally pretty unpalatable. Lada! Look at this. Look at this. A Lada. You know, if you grow up in the United States, the Lada is like a mythical thing. You've never seen one, you've only heard of them, or seen them in films about Russia. But they're all over this country, or less so these days, obviously. But they're still around. Our buddy Arna had a Lada. He said it was very reliable, if I'm not mistaken. How much wildlife is there? That's a great question. Here in Kyiv, nothing. except the occasional hedgehog and birds. You know, in my experience, that's all I have seen here. Now, you get out of the city, and it's a different story, especially up around Chernobyl, as I understand it. In the wake of the Chernobyl disaster, with the creation of the exclusion zone, which is a 30-mile radius around Chernobyl. Look at what a beautiful street that is. Oh, look, that place says New York. Huh. So, in the exclusion zone around Chernobyl, where all humanity has been removed from there, right? My understanding is that wildlife has boomed. Moose, roe deer, white-tailed deer, wild boar, wolves, fox, martens. The list goes, European bison. The list goes on. What is Lada? Oh, Lada, L-A-D-A. It's a kind of Soviet-era car. Squirrels. So, Maddie, it's funny you say that about squirrels, or ask about squirrels, because right outside the window of my apartment, there's a chestnut tree, right? And all year round, there are no squirrels anywhere to be seen. But in the second, third week of September, they show up to collect the mature chestnuts. So they run along the I don't know where they live. I don't know why they don't live in the chestnut tree itself. But I never see them all summer until the fall when it's time to collect the chestnuts. And then they come, I guess, literally out of the woodwork. Maddie's been following the vets who study animals there. Huh. What is Arakar? Gosh, I don't know. Did I say that? I want to point out across the street, there's a place there called Plov, or Plov. That's Uzbeki cuisine. Plov is basically a rice and meat and vegetable dish that's traditional to Uzbekistan. And there's a bunch of these plovs all over town. They're a great deal. The food is good. I've never had a complaint in any of them. It's a little bit reminiscent of Indian food, but without the real spice, you know, that you get with the Indians. You asked about Lada. Hello, Victor Alvarez from New York City. Well, you are right on time, pal. Because if you take a look up there, look at that. There's the New York. So Ladas were Soviet-era cars, and I guess they still make them. They're now a Russian brand. At one time, they were very popular in the Soviet Union. I can't say how popular they are today in Ukraine. The squirrels are stocking up in their bunkers for the winter. You're right about that. Does anybody know? Now, this is embarrassing, right? Because I've been here 2.5 years. And I've never taken the time to translate. The first word is wine, svitu. Wine, svitu. I'm not sure what svitu translates as. In my mind, I read it as Wine City. And it's a great place to go for, especially in the local markets, it's hard to get imported wine. It's hard to get Italian wine, French wine. But in these places, they have everything. I don't know what tracer is. I don't either. A team of veterinarians studying care for the dogs and cats in Chernobyl. Very interesting. You know, it's funny, Maddie. I've kind of been looking for somebody that's doing a doctoral dissertation in dog genetics, is specifically what I'm looking for. Because I think, and this is just a hypothesis, but I think the Holodomor had more of an effect on dog genetics in Ukraine. And I think that that effect is traceable. And I'd be very curious to talk to a geneticist about this hypothesis, or maybe somebody's already written a paper on it. Oh, now here we go. This is what I'm talking about, right? Thanks, Kath. Sleep well. Have a good night. Right now, see, I'm pretty sure this building is a little bit earlier than the other one because you see those callbacks to Greco-Roman architecture. You have these spiral columns of concrete there, and then these wreaths, the florets up on top there. Look at those glass balcony covers. They don't all have them. I guess just the second floor does, or just the second floor does. The third floor doesn't have them. No, you know what? I might be wrong. This building, hang on, wait a minute. There was a guy, if I'm not mistaken, concrete was actually invented in Ukraine. And the guy, or it was brought to Ukraine by somebody famous. And a lot of these concrete buildings would be 1920s, if I'm not mistaken. Because that's all concrete. In the pre-revolutionary stuff, we see mixed materials. I'm not sure what these are. With these big leaves. Are they tulip trees? I'm not sure. A couple of nice ones here. Again, even on the main drag like this, there's room for trees. I'm just going to the store, Maddie. When I get to the store, we're done. But I did take the long way, you'll notice. Not just in an effort to get my steps in, but to show you guys something we hadn't seen before. So, where are we? We're on Antonych Street. Okay. Now, I don't know for sure, but I think what you're looking at here is the result of a recent missile strike that came down in this area. And you'll notice, here's a great example of the resiliency of the Ukrainian people. It's a very simple black cloth silhouette cutout that's stamped over this protective chipboard. And there's a bird and then the kid chasing the bird. It's charming. And far more importantly, in my opinion, it's an example of the kind of resiliency and spirit that dominates here, in spite of everything. Anybody need a dermatologist? It looks like they're still open for business, but they've clearly suffered some damage. I'm not certain if that's all just exposed. That's all just exposed infrastructure there. A friend of mine was living right down here Where was she living? Not there. Right now, that looks like damage from the missile strike. So a friend of mine was living down here in one of these big apartment complexes. And an Iskander M came down right in the middle of the street. And they were sweeping up glass for days. She was fortunate. Her apartment was on the west side of the building. And so her windows didn't get blown out. But everybody on the east side of the building had their windows blown out. Yeah, it's gorgeous, isn't it, Kath? Oh, look at that park. Oh, shoot, we should go see that. I'm pretty sure I know what that is. Hold on. I shouldn't jaywalk, should I? Let's go to the corner. Oh, good, we'll go to the corner and I'll show you what I was talking about before. Oh, now look at this. This is definitely what we're seeing here is damage from a missile strike all up and down this block. That's definitely what that is. There's a great public transport infrastructure here. One of the things I love about this town is its subway. Having lived in Manhattan for so long, you know, you depend on the subway for everything, and it's great to be in a town with a subway again. But there's also a trolley infrastructure, a bus infrastructure. There we go. I think we can make this. I hope this is what I think it is. Yeah, look at the park. It's a nice park. Look at this. Oh! Chestnuts. The symbol of Kyiv, the chestnut tree. It's that time of year, they're all over the place. The town is a very kid-friendly town. There's playgrounds and parks everywhere. Every apartment complex, every apartment block has its own playground. This is what this is. Okay, now dig this. So from way back in the day, before you had private indoor plumbing, all over the town are these wonderful artesian wells, and you can go up to them and you can get fresh water. This water is potable. You can use it to drink, you can use it to eat. It's a simple artesian well. And they're everywhere. This is an unfamiliar design to me. This looks like it's been upgraded more recently than some of them. And by more recently, that could be any time in the last 100 years. But look at that. Well, Lee, I don't know if... thanks, Maddie. So... why are you still talking? So Lee asks a very pertinent question. Is it true that Trump is stopping all funding for Ukraine? Well, Lee, Trump stopped all funding for Ukraine some time ago. I mean, our mission here was shut down. America House Kyiv. There has not been not a single penny of weapons support or defense contractor support Trump came in and he's making them pay for everything, including the maintenance on the F-16s, howitzers, and other weapons that we've already sent. So Biden sends weapons right to Ukraine. Trump comes along and says, oh, you got some weapons from us, huh? You want to keep them working, don't you? Well, that's going to cost you $300 million fucking dollars. This is what we're dealing with Trump. He is bound and determined to hand Ukraine to Putin. Make no mistake. Donald Trump is not merely an enemy of the Ukrainian people, he is an enemy of the American people. Because our strategic interest lies in defeating Russia. His good buddy Putin. Not only did he stop all the funding leak, but it is important to point out that he has attempted to stop the deliveries of aid to Ukraine approved by an act of Congress. The Biden money, the Biden weapons that didn't get here, about $5 billion worth before his term ended, he has done everything to delay and delay and delay that aid. He's totally in Putin's pocket. Russia is not Iraq. No, you know why? Because Iraq survived its war with us. Russia will not survive its war with Ukraine. You and me both, Bernard. Okay, now remember before I was talking about the commitment that the city of Kyiv has made to handicapped accessibility, right, in the wake of the war. Well, look at these corners. Every one of them freshly tarmacked with slip protectant, slide protectant, what do you call these, tiles. And that to me speaks volumes about the commitment that Ukraine has to bringing its warriors home and making sure that they can live, they can get around. Warriors home and making sure that they can live, they can get around. I don't know what Smert Vorhoham is. I'm going to need somebody to translate that for me, assuming that it's even a word. Look at how everything's boarded up there. You can be sure it's boarded up that way because all those windows got blown out by a Russian missile. That's the reason why. Hey, Steve-O. How you doing? NATO's role on Europe's eastern borders. Well, that's an awfully tricky question, isn't it? I was listening to an interview with General Philip Breedlove, the former Supreme Allied Commander of Forces in Europe. And he's of the opinion that NATO is doing exactly the right thing with Eastern Sentry. Operation Eastern Sentry is a military operation designed to shoot down or interdict, at the very least, Russian drones and missiles coming into NATO airspace. And Eastern Sentry is supposed to be in effect all the way from Finland, Sweden, the Baltics, Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Bulgaria, all the way down. Thanks, Lee. Take care. Oh, there's an electric bus. You can see it running there on electric lines. Institute Zelektrozvarki. I don't know what that is. It's an institute, though. It's missing some windows, undoubtedly because of the neighbors are such assholes. So, Operation Eastern Century is supposed to be in effect. Unfortunately, what we have seen since it went into effect was a Russian drone in Romania, escorted by the Romanian Air Force out of its airspace. After 50 minutes of flying through Romania, it was then allowed to return to Ukraine, potentially, if they didn't know it was unarmed, which they still have not told us, potentially to go about its mission of murdering Ukrainians. Now that to me is a failure. That's a failure. Then there was the incursion into Estonian airspace. You got 3 Russian MiGs flying into Estonian airspace, violating NATO airspace, as well as Estonian sovereign airspace. For 12 minutes, they flew in circles, armed with Kinzhal hypersonic ballistic missiles. That is not a fucking mistake. That is a provocation. It is an egregious, reckless provocation of the worst sort. Institute of Electric Welding. Thank you, Lila. Nice. Have I heard of Steve Kuhn, American ex-military? I haven't. John, who is he? Should I know who he is? Thanks, John. More missing windows. There's something over here. I don't know what it is. A government building or a military building. The Russians keep trying to hit it, is my understanding. And that's why so many of the buildings on this street have been damaged. In high school, I knew a kid named Marty Kuhn, who went on to do great things in life. My night was quiet. You know, after yesterday's drone attack of 600 drones, it appears the Russians could only scrape together 54 last night, and 33 of them were shot down. What is that? That's like a 60% interception rate, 62%, something like that. Okay, you know what? I'm going to take a seat here because we're just about up to the corner. And maybe I'll take a few. If anybody's got any questions, now would be the time. He's a pro-Russian commentator all over Instagram, loves Orban. These traitors, these Americans, like Charlie Kirk. Let's be clear. Charlie Kirk was a piece of shit who was almost certainly on the Russian payroll. The bullshit that came out of his mouth, you gotta be kidding me. And they want to make him a saint? He's a traitor. They're all traitors. And he was murdered by a traitor because he didn't hate enough and they needed a martyr to blame the left on. Well, you know, John, the problem with being married to a Ukrainian is that the Soviet history here is such that, you know, about, I don't know, it's hard to say, maybe somewhere between 15 and 28%. Maybe not that much. But there's a lot of Ukrainians here who are very pro-Russian. That's a real thing. Any more refineries hit by the Ukrainians? We had 2 refineries hit, not last night, but the night before. Saratov, and I forget where the other one was. Finland isn't a real country and we're actually Russian. Right, Dive Hard. That son of a bitch had the nerve to say that. And we're supposed to feel bad that his life was ended by the very thing he was in favor of. You got to be kidding me. Got to be kidding me. So yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Marius, the 2 hits against oil infrastructure Friday night now bring the total number of refineries hit, or rather in the last 50 days, the number of hits against refineries, it brings it to 18. 18. Now that's just refineries. That does not include pipeline infrastructure. That does not include oil depots. That does not include the gas plant out in Bashkortostan that got hit. And that's an important facility. We should not underestimate the importance of the strike on that Gazprom gas processing plant in Bashkortostan. It's the largest single gas facility of its kind inside the Russian Federation. It produces 120 different products, including the precursors required for fertilizers, urea, ammonium nitrate, that kind of thing. Now, when we think, now follow this with me for a second, because you know what I think. Thanks, Bernard. Take care. You know what I think. I remember when this war started, what Putin said he was going to do. He threatened us with the 3 Fs. Fuel. He would cut off the fuel to Europe and we would all freeze. Famine. He would destroy the food production out of Ukraine and bring famine to Africa. And finally, fire. He threatened us with nuclear fission, right? The 3 Fs. Now, you know I think karma's a bitch, right? Well, what are we seeing happening inside Russia right now? Fuel shortages everywhere. What he said he would do to Europe, Ukraine is doing to the Russian Federation. Famine. This is going to be a famine winter in the Russian Federation. You've got drought from climate change driven by the very fossil fuels that fund this terrorist regime. Drought in at least 10 oblasts, all of which are food-producing oblasts. The harvest, the wheat harvest, is expected to be down by 60% across the Russian Federation this year. It's a starvation economy that's coming to Russia. The very thing that he threatened the world with at the beginning of this genocidal lunatic's attack on Ukraine. And then the last thing he threatened us all with was nukes. Now, so far, karma's seen to it that the 2 things that he wanted to do to Ukraine have bounced right back and hit the Russian Federation. It's my opinion, based on analysts' understanding of the condition of the Russian nuclear stockpile, that should he choose to launch a nuclear device, it is as likely to irradiate Moscow or Minsk as it is to hit Ukraine. The way that everything he has tried to do here, break the will of these people, break the economy of this country, break the energy infrastructure, break the food supply, is all happening to Russia. Why wouldn't it make sense that his last ace in the hole, should he try to play it, will absolutely rebound against him? Well, Dive Hard, I mean, I know where you live, but I can tell from that comment you're not in the United States. The average electric bill in the United States is up 300% right now under Trump and his unbelievable mismanagement. Okay. Hey, that's a great, Marius, that's an interesting proverb. That's not one I'm familiar with. Don't dig the grave for somebody else because you will fall in. No, Ukraine is definitely not the final goal. I really believe, now I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on here for a second, but I really believe that Putin and Trump had a plan. Trump is supposed to subvert the government of the United States, then he's supposed to take Canada and Greenland, while Putin takes at least Eastern Europe and catches the rest of Europe in the big squeeze between these two fascist dictatorships. I really believe that was their plan. Don't dig the grave for somebody else, because you will fall in. Okay, I'm going to walk up to the corner here, and then we'll officially come to an end here. You know, one of the things that I do find funny, because, you know, in the United States, of course, Crocs are a joke. They're like the worst, right? Like, nobody would put on a pair of Crocs to save their lives. But here it's fashion. It is a curious quirk of the culture. All right, guys, I'm at the Mega Mart. Final thoughts, questions, comments, points of observation. He's got Belarus, right? And he thought he could march into Ukraine and establish the Union State. And then from there, hook up with Moldova through Transnistria. All of these plans must be foiled. The future of hundreds of millions of people in Central Asia, Europe, are on the line. Absolutely on the line. The Baltics, of course, would be in his sights, as would Poland. Okay, kids. I'm going to go do some shopping here. I got a couple things to pick up before I leave town. And I will talk to you all, let's see, probably Monday. I'll be live again on Monday. Thanks, John. Thanks, Leo. Thanks, Feisty. Thanks, Maddie. Maddie, thanks for hanging out and moderating. I appreciate it. Thanks, Old and Slightly Grumpy. Hey, FNL, did you just get here? We're just wrapping up, pal. Thanks, Dive Hard. Take care, pal. Thanks, Pingu. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Rocco. Thanks, Marius. Yeah, dude, you just missed us. We're just closing it up. Same. Hey, Arna. I'm at the Mega Market. Oh, you can't see it. I'm at the Mega Market, and I'm going to go do a little bit of shopping before I got to take off. Yeah, well, it's a different, you know, what are you going to do? All my Australia, New Zealand people are here. It's a good time to catch them. All right, kids, make it a great day.